The short-term shutdown point of production, look at that. For a firm operating under perfect competition will most likely occur when price is equal to average total cost. No, that is up here. We said that that is the break-even point. We can get rid of that one. Marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Again, that can happen anywhere along the marginal cost curve. That's not specific enough. Sure, at this point it would happen if the price happens to be at that point as well. But it could be anywhere, so that's not specific enough. We have to say C. Marginal revenue is less than average variable cost. That means if prices are marginal revenue, that means the price is anywhere down here. Anywhere down here. These are all shutdown points. If that's the shutdown point, anything below that is also a shutdown point. So the short-term shutdown point of production, marginal revenue less than average variable costs, absolutely. It's under conditions of perfect competition. A company will break even when market price is equal to the minimum of the, well, we just did this in the last two questions, but we'll do it again. Average total cost, average variable cost, marginal cost. There's our break-even point, and that would be the price. When price is equal to the minimum point of the average total cost curve, average variable cost curve, or short-run marginal cost curve. Well, we can get rid of that for now. Let's look at what we're looking for. We're looking for the break-even point. Here it is, average total cost curve. A company will shut down production in the short run if total revenue is less than total fixed costs, less than total variable cost, or less than total opportunity cost. We can get rid of that. It's between fixed and variable. Even if total revenue were less than total fixed costs, we still might be lowering our loss or minimizing our loss because we still might have some contribution towards fixed cost. However, if total revenue is less than total variable costs, we're not even covering our variable costs. We'd do better by just not making anything at all. So our answer for 27 must be B. A company has total variable cost of $4 million and fixed costs of $3 million. Based on this information, the company will stay in the market in the long run if total revenue is at least our break-even point, right? What's our break-even? Add them together, 4 and 3. Because remember, our fixed cost has our opportunity cost in there, our required rate of return. So at least $7 million. There we go. When total revenue is greater than total variable costs, but less than total costs, in the short term, a firm will most likely, well, if our total revenue is greater than our total variable costs, we're at least covering that and we're making some money towards our fixed costs. So we're minimizing our loss at that point. So in the short run, let's hang out because at least we're covering some of our fixed costs. But in the long run, well, we're going to have to reassess, right? So in the short run, we'll stay in the market. Under conditions of perfect competition, in the long run, firms will most likely earn normal profits, positive economic profits, or negative economic profits. Well, this is the long run, so let's think about what happens in the short run. If we have positive economic profits, what's going to happen? You're going to have firm entry. What is entry going to do? It is going to increase the amount of supply, which will put downward pressure on price. If you have negative economic profits, what are you going to have? You're going to have exit, which is going to decrease supply, which is going to put upward pressure on price. In the long run, you will have normal profits, which neither encourages nor discourages firm entry or exit. A firm that increases its quantity produced without any change in per unit cost. So its cost per unit is staying the same, is experiencing economies of scale. Well, if it were economies of scale, as it increased quantity, its cost per unit would decrease. So it's not experiencing economies of scale. Diseconomies of scale? Well, as quantity increased, the cost per unit would also increase, so it can't be experiencing diseconomies of scale. What do we have left? Constant returns to scale. A company is experiencing economies of scale when A, cost per unit increases as output increases. Well, no, that's diseconomies of scale. We can eliminate that. It is operating at a point on the long run average cost curve where slope is negative. Well, let's remember our long run average cost curve was like this, and we had a whole bunch of short run average total cost curves. And here slope is negative. That means we are experiencing economies of scale. Yes. C, it is operating beyond the minimum point on the long run average total cost curve. Well, there's the minimum point. Well, here is diseconomies of scale. So we got to get rid of that because we're looking for economies. We have B for 32. Diseconomies of scale most likely result from specialization in the labor force. Well, you should get economies of scale because of that. So we can get rid of that. Overlap of business functions and product lines. Yes, there you go. C, discounted prices on resources when buying in larger quantities. Well, no, that's an economy of scale because you're getting a lower cost per input. So we can get rid of that. We have B. A firm is operating beyond the minimum efficient scale in a perfectly competitive industry. So, minimum efficient scale, there is our long-term average total cost curve. Remember, we have a whole series of short-term curves in there. There is our minimum efficient scale. We're operating beyond the minimum efficient scale in a perfectly competitive industry. To maintain long-term viability, the most likely course of action for the firm to do is operate at the current level of production, increase its level of production to gain economies of scale. Well, no, at this point, if you increase production, you will experience even greater diseconomies of scale. Get rid of B. Decrease its level of production to the minimum point on the long-run average total cost curve. Yes, you're going to decrease your level of production. Companies most likely have a well-defined supply function when the market structure is oligopoly, perfect competition, or monopolistic competition. And there was only one of the four we looked at where there was a well-defined supply function. That was in perfect competition. Aquarius Inc. is the dominant company and the price leader in its market. One of the other companies in the market attempts to gain market share by undercutting the price set by Aquarius. The market share of Aquarius will most likely increase, decrease, or stay the same. And you might think, well, it should decrease if there's going to be somebody's going to lower their price. Wouldn't they get more volume? Well, we're not asking about what's going to happen to the person lowering the price. We're just asking what's going to happen to the market leader. So let's draw out our functions again, and let's see if we can replicate them here. There's demand, there's marginal revenue, and here is the marginal cost curve for the leader. There's our quantity for the leader, and there is the price for the leader. And I'll just change color so we don't get confused. We know that there is a different demand curve sitting out here for the followers, and there is a different average cost curve sitting out here for the followers. So if there is a lowering of the price from one of them, some of these players over here will no longer be able to afford to stay in the industry, so they'll drop out. So the person who lowered the price may get some market share, but the dominant firm will probably gain market share at the expense of those who are forced out of the industry by this rogue player. So, most likely increase. Over time, the market share of the dominant company in an oligopolistic market will most likely increase, decrease, or remain the same. The dominant firm in an oligopolistic market over time. Well, over time, smaller players will eventually adopt newer technology, gain productivity, and lower their average cost to the point where their average cost curve will approach that of the dominant firm. Hence, over time, the dominant firm's market share will most likely decrease.